What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Twink Revolution, episode 20. I'm Sam.
I'm Gian. Holy shit, 20? Really?
Yeah.
God, are we still doing this shit?
I guess so. We're committed now.
We haven't been canceled yet, which is kind of shocking to me, honestly.
Yeah. I want to be dragged.
It'll happen. I mean, we get like mini dragged. People try occasionally, but it's always like without a lot of commitment.
Yeah, well, we're bad bitches. They can't drag us.
How are you doing, Sam?
A little tipsy.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're a little tipsy this podcast.
What do you mean we? I'm sober as a judge.
Yeah, okay. If the judge is a whore.
Yeah. It's funny because like usually my tolerance is high, but I'm slurring today, which is kind of bad news, honestly.
I mean, we're always drinking during these podcasts, but this one especially hit me.
Yeah, we started early. I think the problem it's like 9 p.m. on the West Coast, and we started at like 5 or 6.
We're just so committed to the podcast. We're willing to do it drunk or sober, mostly drunk.
Yeah, we're not gonna give this up for anything. Which actually a good segue. You know who else is not going to give up the presidency for anything?
Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren.
Hell yeah. The New York Times editorial board's choice for endorsement. Yeah,
this is the first time they've like diverged and chosen two candidates, a centrist candidate and a quotations progressive candidate.
Radical.
Did
they say progressive? Did they say radical?
I think said
radical, didn't they? Oh, okay. That makes sense. I mean, that's true.
It's such a useless term. Progressive has incorporated anyone from like Woodrow Wilson to Theodore Roosevelt, who are not people that we want to like it's often used as a term meaning socialist in like socialist left circles. But like, I think that few leftists should just drop the term progressive as a term for us, because
I mean it means in this day and age, at least, it means like maximally progressive or maximally liberal. Which like is a slur. Like, you should not regard this as a compliment for your politics. If you regard it as progressive, it means you're like kind of race sciencey and probably love markets, which fuck you, man.
They initiated like eugenics programs in the U.S. Like, these people are not.
Yeah, totally.
Everyone's like, oh, can we disagree? Warren's no longer a progressive. I'm like, no, she is a progressive. She's a capitalist, and she believes in micromanaging the economy to make it last longer, which is the whole point of progressivism, with like a large amount of like nanny statism.
Yeah, I mean, this is the neoliberal project, right? Is to say what kind of state intervention can we do to prop up the markets that would otherwise might have sort of collapsed on their own accord. Like 2008 might have been the end of market capitalism, if not for the sort of many interventions we made of like pouring $1 trillion into the economy. Yeah.
And then there's Amy Klobuchar, who's like if drywall had a personality, and that's basically her whole entire campaign.
I don't know, man. If you follow like cognitarians on Twitter, you know she's hot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, we're all like pro Amy as a sex symbol now.
I think you're confusing Amy Therese and Amy Klobuchar.
I miss Amy.
I miss Amy too.
But no,
free Amy.
free Amy, and not Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar she's a sex symbol now. You've seen some of the like close-up photos of her looking real like pancake makeup. The shaky hair, it's like hair sprayed in place, and it just like trembles through every debate.
I'm just gonna like fucking puke right here, and might be not drunk.
No, but you have noticed that, right? Like
no,
the trembling
I haven't.
hair. No, you've noticed the hair just trembles and vibrates weirdly.
I know she like shakes like a chihuahua, like in the last debate.
No, she does that every debate, and it's to do with her hair. Is like, I think, hair sprayed into this weird like coif, and then like any movement she makes, like a tremble, which is a tell for like my corporate overlords might disapprove of the question being asked or something, translates into like this like weird oscillation in her hair. It's very scary.
I haven't noticed that.
Yeah, no, it's not good. Klobuchar is our second place endorsement, right?
Yeah, she's the it's Tulsi, and then it's her, and then it's Bernie Sanders, because we have that.
Oh, she's third place then.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought Bernie was canceled because he's a sexist now.
Oh, is that why we don't like him? I thought it was because he didn't hit our penis requirement. I thought he needed a 10-inch dick, and it was only like 9.95.
Any Jewish, so who knows, circumcision, et cetera, yeah. Oh.
Well, he shouldn't have got cut, so.
No, so, our very serious editorial board endorsement is still for Bernard Sanders from Vermont. Did you see the editorial board? Like, do you see what they look like?
No.
The New York Times and editorial board. So they released a whole documentary, like a half-hour weird-ass documentary about their endorsement process. Then they released another documentary about the process of making the editorial documentary.
Oh my God.
It's just narcissism up the hole. But it's the hilarious thing is they just look like lizard people. Like they're the weirdest looking people.
So Alex Jones is right.
Yeah, no, it's this is some David Icke shit. Like I was never a fan of these theories until I saw like what the New York Times endorsement committee looks like, and I was like, holy shit, these people are lizard people.
Can you show me the pictures?
Yeah. Hold tight. I'm gonna grab the.
I can only imagine.
Oh, here we go. Ready? All right. So here's one.
Holy shit! It's like,
what is wrong with the shape of that man's head? Here's another one. This is like a bald man with shitty hipster glasses and a really shitty beard.
Why are they all bald, including the woman?
Oh, yeah. Nobody has any hair because that's like technology is beyond the grasp of our alien overlords. Yeah, and that's parody. But
holy fuck. That way, that one guy.
That's not real.
Oh.
Yeah. No, somebody's doing a joke, but that guy's real. This guy's shape is like the shape of a comma. I do not understand the what is wrong with his fucking face. So anyway, to me this is like sort of Sharon from the local like insurance office and her sort of local office like pool around who's going to win the election. And that's about the value of a New York Times endorsement these days.
So I'll be perfectly honest, I had no idea there was even an endorsement by the New York Times editorial committee until like a few days ago. And someone was like, you should talk about this. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
no, you're normal. Like, I honestly, nobody gives a fuck about the New York Times these days. Nobody subscribes anymore. And certainly nobody is watching a 30-minute endorsement, except people like me who are sort of deranged by the online political process.
Yeah, we're twisted.
Yeah, no, I'm the Joker.
Why so serious?
and yet you live in an endorsement society.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
No, the article is disgusting. It's like,
oh God, it was
for one,
terrible.
They're talking about why they didn't choose, or for one, they chose two candidates because they don't know what path we're going to take because Trump's a white, xenophobic, like fascist. Like that's what they talked about. And it's like, he's not a fascist, dumbasses.
They did sort of classic Trump derangement shit.
He's corrupt, compared to all the Democrats who were never corrupt. There was no Benghazi or rape scandals or anything like that.
Right. And their endorsement was split between, so I can't remember how many votes were involved, like maybe 15, 20, something like that. And Warren got like 7 or something, and Klobuchar got maybe 6. And I could be off on quantities here, but Warren is in 3rd or 4th place, depending which polls you look at.
She's in 4th usually.
Well, yeah. No. So I mean, either 3rd, charitably 4th place. Sorry, charitably 3rd place, maybe 4th place.
Patriarchy works.
Yep. We've successfully silenced the voices of women. Klobuchar's in. How many candidates are still in? Like 12?
I think she's lower than
she's like 12th place.
Yeah, she's horrible.
She has no following. Like no. She kind of win these sort of like shitty machine Democrat endorsement primaries. She is a non-entity.
Tulsi gets more credibility and following than fucking Amy Klobuchar.
Yeah, and like Mayor Peter, the apostle, is doing better than Amy Klobuchar at like occupying that center lane of like, how about charter schools and no Medicare for all? How about that for a program? Are you inspired yet? Which is Klobuchar's entire thing. Steyer is still in. He's like the guy who keeps trying to like high five Bernie and Bernie doesn't like billionaires and is racist against billionaires and like keeps snubbing him. It's really rude.
It's basically anti-Semitic at this point of him just pushing his wealth towards Bernie.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think it's really weird that like, Steyer keeps hanging around Bernie, hoping that like there's some weird patronage job for him.
He should just do a Mean Girls, like, you can't sit with us.
I think Bernie keeps doing a Mean Girls, and it keeps sort of like weird images keep appearing of Bernie sort of pushing Steyer out of the way, being like, yeah, okay, good, thank you.
But it is kind of, I feel like Steyer is like kind of so like meek and like tragic. He's kind of like adorable compared to like many others.
He's endearing, but remember, he's a billionaire.
Yeah, but he's like meek.
So guillotine him. Meek billionaires get guillotined along with the rest.
He kind of gets like tied up in a gimp suit by like some dominatrix and is like locked in the closet. Like, it's tragic and heartbreaking and also kind of hilarious.
In fairness, if I like had to place bets on who among the billionaire class might turn class traitor first, Steyer would probably be high on the list. Like, he's probably the guy who might like give away his fortune very quickly to the vanguard or something. Yeah. So he's fine. I don't personally hate him, but I'm not surprised Bernie doesn't like hang with the guy.
Yeah, but no, the endorsement was just like complete fucking crap. It's like, it's New York Times, so it was all like, Amy Klobuchar helped support the invasions of Syria and Libya, and that's why she's good. Like, of course, the New York Times supports that.
Sorry, I just looked at the guy's fucking head again. What the fuck is wrong with this guy's face? It's so bad. And this one as well.
Yeah, they're frumpy.
There's a weird, I can't find the image, but there's a much weirder like portrait of all of them posing across the table. Behind them is there's a portrait of Nelson Mandela next to a portrait of Margaret Thatcher on the wall behind them as they all pose.
Fuck.
And they all just look like fucking aliens. It's so bad.
Maybe they're aliens.
Yeah, no, like David Icke or whatever was right. Like the reptile theory was correct the entire time. It's really sad for all of us.
No, their endorsement reasons were just ridiculous. I mean, you guys can read the article. I don't really give a shit. Basically, it was like, Warren's a compromiser and a progressive, and that's why she's better than Bernie. And Klobuchar's a centrist, and she supports war, and that's why we like her. So that's basically their sponsorship. And the last 20 years, every single person they've chosen is lost. So hopefully this continues. Maybe they're like the bad luck cursors.
Oh yeah, they're being endorsed by the New York Times is like an absolute fucking curse.
It's like a bullet in the head.
I mean, it's a bullet in the head or like a one-way helicopter ride from Pinochet, who I think they endorsed.
Yeah. No, they had an orgy with him because it was racist agent.
Very briefly, we weren't going to talk about this because I kind of want to because it was so fucking surreal. We watched The Circle over Martin Luther King weekend.
Yeah.
Just to honor the man, Dr. King. On this memory, we're watching the weirdest fucking Netflix reality show I've ever seen.
So dystopian.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen this, the premise of it is it's an apartment block in Chicago, and 8 or so contestants move into separate little like single unit apartments in there, and then all communicate through a private social network that just links the 8 of them. And they sort of do like challenges online about like quizzes and
they like build relationships. And
they can private message each other. They can slide into each other's DMs and share like photos that may or may not be of them. They can catfish each other. Yeah. And the whole idea has become like they then rank each other occasionally. And then the like worst placed person gets eliminated or blocked, if you will. Mm-hmm. And they like, it's classic reality TV. So they fuck up the formula all the time. They did all sorts of amazing shit and add new people. It was compelling viewing.
Oh yeah. It was like quite amusing. Like, I love reality trash TV.
I kind of don't, but I honestly thought like, so what they did to this one was really interesting as a formula variance was they added a very snarky host where her whole role is to sort of reinforce the idea of like, oh yeah, you viewer are much smarter than all of this. You're way too clever to watch reality TV, right? And I bought that shit hook, line, and sinker. I was like, yes, I'm too clever. I don't watch this shit. I'm way too sophisticated to watch this bullshit. Yeah. And I was like, I'm taken in. Dude, please give me more. Like we watched it over like a day and a half, right?
Yeah, a day and a half.
We basically like powered through it, except to sort of like sleep and eat. But it was amazing.
It was kind of like hilarious because the reality was how hyper alienating it was. Like people did not have communication of any living person for days. I think it was like probably like a week and a half for the total recording. And they're just alone in an apartment talking to people they have no idea are real or have a connection to. And it's like, this is basically the world now. Like,
I mean, I run the Twink Rev Twitter account most of the time, and this is basically what it's like. I just sort of shout into the void, and occasionally we get a lot of likes on a tweet.
Yeah. Or hate.
Yeah, you get a lot more hate on Twitter than I do.
Well, it's stupid.
You're like more controversial. I'm trying to be like, hello, I'm the corporate voice of the Twink Revolution, LLC, the official voice of our corporate brand.
Amy Teresa's gone. Someone's got to stir the pot and attack the liberals.
There are some good replacements. I must say. Nobody can ever replace Amy, and we miss her dearly. But I will give a couple shout outs when I can find them. Shia LaBeefcake is absolutely wonderful, who I love. Shia LaBeef Steak. I always forget that one. And Marty Marty is good. And Cognitarians on Twitter as well. Just go find us on Twitter. We're at Twink Rev, and you can find the people we are interacting with. And there's sort of like a crew of people who are like not Nazis, but might have a slightly skeptical view of some of the supposedly left-wing programs happening online. And it's a lot of fun.
You can also follow Twink Rev Comrade. That's me, Sam.
No, Rev Twink Comrade is you.
Rev Twink Comrade.
Yeah, there's a weird reversal in there.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to go see if I can get Twink Rev Comrade as my like personal account and like
you should
steal
do that.
it. That's actually not bad. I might do that.
Yeah.
I was going to do a funny pun on my name or something, but I might just abandon that and just literally take an anagram of your name.
I think it should be G on T-Pain.
That's pretty good. We'll see. Anyway,
it's a giant pain.
Yeah, I've been running this the corporate account, but I don't want to do that because it turns out you get banned if you're like a leftist on Twitter now. So I don't want our like official account to get banned for me being a snarky bitch online.
But I love it.
Yeah, and apparently a lot of people do. We have hundreds of followers now.
Yeah, we're almost to 800.
Yeah, no, to literally my personal efforts being a bitch online.
Yeah. But speaking of bitches online, a person I have actually engaged with in the real world, Bradley Palumbo, wrote a piece attacking the Mid-Atlantic Lever Conference for being a bunch of degenerates.
You've got into this guy into it with this guy online as well many times. I've seen.
Yeah, his followers are.
I have too. He's one of the most surreal experiences I had online on my like in another life with another Twitter account. I think I responded to one of he posted some shit about like
it was Pride. Yeah.
Oh, it was Pride, and like the Pride is actually just full of child molesters or something. Like
it was like some of his fans were sharing this like video of like a furry with his dick out, and we're from San Francisco Bay Area, and we clearly recognize this was not Pride. It was Folsom Street Fair where no children are allowed. Oh
yeah, that was the claim. It was like, here's a video from Pride where it's family friendly, and this is persons getting their dick sucked in public. And we looked at the video they linked, and we're like, that's Folsom Street Fair. It's 18 plus. It's
also was shared by two like right-wing alt-right furries.
Gay furries. These are gay male furries who are alt-right.
Honey,
but Brad Palumbo,
he's like some like 20-something like frumpy gay DC blue checkmark account.
I was shocked he has a blue checkmark on Twitter now. That's
of course he does, because everyone who's a piece of shit has a blue checkmark on Twitter.
So his entire shtick is to be like, I feel alienated by gay culture, which is a feeling like many gay men have had at various times. Like no shame to that part.
Yeah.
His next step is to be like, let's import every dumb fucking culture war piece of bullshit conservative position all at once, adopt that as a political identity, and become sort of a shill version, like a gay Ben Shapiro. Like that's his identity. He's like, I'm the gay who tells you that gay people who fly rainbow flags at Pride are stupid faggots.
Well, he has like 20,000 followers, and
they're all straight people who hate gay people. Like,
yeah, I can tell you from my background of like the right wing, people will literally sell their soul to become famous because they're a marginal group that can be used to like support right wing causes, whether it's your Candace Owen talking about like the libs and hating black people, or
Candace Owen being a sort of African American woman who is like now the one who's like, what about black on black crime?
Yeah, or like Blair White, or like who's like a trans YouTuber, right winger, and like he's the same thing. He's a gay person who basically all they do is criticize the gay community as like a bunch of degenerates, and they're all super sexual and like morally impure, and we need to fight this or we're not going to be accepted by like right-wing Christian fundamentalists who are never going to accept you.
No, these are Barack Obama's entire political project is like, how do we make ourselves acceptable to the Christian right, and like, which is incredibly fringe, right, compared to like 2004 when this was maybe like a more mainstream position. It's gotten more and more fringe to be the people like, gay marriage is still the thing that animates me.
Yeah,
gonna ban it. And this guy's like, I kind of love it as a grift. Like, I this might be my plan after this podcast flames out. I'm just like enough of a following where I can become like. This was a popular move in like the 90s where you were like, what a lot of people did was, oh, I used to be a communist or a Trotskyist or something, and now, but I've now come to see the light, and now I'm like a neocon.
Such a sad grift though. Like Milo did it better, and like
way better. Well, he fucked it up though.
But also like Milo kind of embraced like the hyper like Queenie like femme like British eccentricism.
Yeah, his whole like, oh, I love getting fucked by black men.
This person's but boring and like,
but I hate the Muslims.
Not even that attractive, like from a conventional standpoint. Like at least Milo was like,
he's not bad. I would like the interesting thing is like,
this is why God created hair bags.
No, I think it's sadder because the point being like, the reductive argument would be simply like, oh, he's like very unattractive and feels alienated from gay culture, which is sort of status and beauty obsessed, and has become a sort of bitter, twisted soul. That's like that. He's not ugly enough to justify that. He's like kind of just like a normal looking guy who I'm sure could find all sorts of very genuine connections with other human beings.
Really?
Yeah, no, put it this way. I know plenty of people who are not sort of conventionally attractive, quote unquote, and there's a whole lot to unpack and like what that means, who like genuinely find a lot more connection and love and care for other people in a way that's way more genuine than this just dumbass grifter has ever done.
He has a boyfriend apparently, according to the article.
Poor guy.
I know. Congratulations, Bradley Palumbo. Glad you're not an incel. But
well, he might be. Don't forget, he might be with these like gay sexist sins. So
that's
like,
true.
We can only cuddle tonight or whatever.
Yeah.
No, the dude is like. I remember getting into it with him online about a year ago, and like
he's a narcissist, and he, like I tweeted this earlier. I think kind of his whole thing is he's full of this like right-wing narcissism of moral purity and must morally condemn anyone who wants to abide by a different moralistic viewpoint. I mean, people who I know who are more right-wing in their economic and policy were like, oh, you should go. It's actually pretty fun. He was like, oh, disgusting. And it's like, this person's not even willing to like fully accept. And also, his whole argument is this whole gay association with kink culture, whether you like it or not, is tied with lower acceptance and offers no analytical research to support his argument, but also his history is completely like wrong. He basically states, it's an affront to gay acceptance, the fight for which was actually rooted in an appeal to family values and bourgeois norms. And knowing the history of actual LGBT struggle, it was actually rooted in a material struggle, which was primarily access to housing and jobs and stuff, until like a small class of like primarily like more middle income lesbians and gays shifted it over completely. But to argue that
even the gay marriage, like to turn to like gay marriage is a social good. The thing is, like, even if what he says is true, which is say like social acceptance was about appearing very normal, the point being, if some people want to like go have a fun party in leather harnesses and do all sorts of shit where you're like, I feel deeply uncomfortable at this and this is not for me,
don't go.
This is
fuck off.
Like, honestly, mainstream culture is way more in tune with the idea of like, oh, this is sort of like a weird fetishy thing and I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But they're like, the only person saying this reflects poorly on all gay people collectively is Brad fucking Palumbo, the like right-wing gay grifter, who's less
maybe
good of a
21,
grifter, less good of a grifter than Milo, as you say. Like Milo was a better gay grifter, or like Douglas Murray, good right-wing gay who's like, I'm a neocon, like nuke Iran, and I'm gay. Bradley, he's not even that interesting. When I got into it with him about a year ago, he my Twitter mentions just filled up with the weirdest fucking right wing, like just alt-right shitheads who hate gays. And his entire political project has been like, I can make the person who has like a Hitler avatar on Twitter and is like, I will burn you in ovens. I can make them be okay with my personal brand of homosexuality. The rest of you can get fucked and like burn in hell, but I can make, baby Hitler Auschwitz 666 on Twitter like me. My relationship can be acceptable to them. Fuck you, Brad Palumbo, you motherfucker.
But also, I think it's easy to like attack him. Like, he's not a person that's going to have like broad acceptance from even like the most centrist right-wing gays, because they're all beautiful degenerates in their own way. But
hot.
I think a lot of the libs who I saw,
to be clear, sorry, we can get way more acceptance from them by just being like, you can just sleep your way to acceptance with these, like with the actual right wingers.
Yeah.
Like if you're just being like,
and they're hot.
Yeah. Get on Grindr during like a weird right wing conference and like, yeah, you can get way more social acceptance.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're making a point.
But I thought the thing that's more interesting was I saw a bunch of like San Francisco libs share his article, which I think released today. And honestly, I thought they were just problematic in their viewpoints as well, where they kind of essentialize gay identity as being liberated via a kink and like having sex with like tons of people. And I'm like, being gay doesn't mean any of these things. Like, being gay just means you like the same sex, and you like if you mean like gay like in male, it's like you like dick. But it's kind of like these people are both arguing over like, oh, he's internally homophobic. It's like, I don't think he hates himself for being gay. I think he's just more traditional, and that's
I think it's
fine.
Narcissist.
But like he's narcissist.
I mean, traditionalism. Like, I mean, we have in fact been accused of being sort of gay traditionalists.
Yeah.
And like for reasons that are mostly extremely online, not that interesting to people who listen to the podcast.
Well,
but
my Molly usage definitely proves I'm not a traditionalist.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but like to the extent that like if you subscribe to the idea that there's such a thing as social good, you then might have to talk about like, hey, is this social effect or a social relation actually like a good for the rest of like for humanity is like, and that's fine. Then you can express social disapproval. That doesn't mean you actually have to then go to take the next step and say, let's ban it.
Yeah.
Palumbo's whole shtick though is just to get with the like cuddle up to people whose entire political project is like, let's use mostly the gays, but trans people certainly is like a popular, canard, right? Of being like, how do we use this as a wedge issue to mobilize a certain kind of like diabetic 75-year-old in the nursing home, like, is willing to sort of be wheeled out, dottering to the polls and vote for like the most right-wing candidate possible.
Yeah.
And Palumbo's entire political project has been like, I can get that person to find me acceptable because I'm such a polite, nice young man. Well, I think, and I call the people wearing harnesses in the streets stupid faggots too.
I think also because he is a person who is a writer for mostly right-wing publications and is on Twitter quite a lot, like all writers are nowadays, due to the mass like neoliberalization of like journalism, which we're
writers.
Yeah. But basically, I think the more follows and likes he gets when he releases these hit pieces, like release more of that serotonin, which is like a feeling of like narcissistic like behavior. Like he's going to keep doing things like anyone would that feels their like ego. It's a morally aggrandizing like behavior, and it's like the more he does it, the more followers, the more people are like, yes, look at these disgusting and homo faggots who are having dildos in these private clubs. No one's allowed unless they're 18 and up. They're disgusting. It's like,
yeah, how gross.
Yeah, go kick yourself.
This is the Dave Rubin effect, right? Of being like, Dave Rubin sits down with sort of like rabid homophobes. And I don't critique him for sitting down with them. I critique him for sitting down with them and being like, stupid faggots, am I right?
Yeah.
I don't you you can just slap me, so you can slap my face and you can spit in my mouth a little bit. And
that's
like,
pretty much what he does.
He's
spineless.
It's not like I'm happy to is it Caitlin Bennett, Gun Girl? We have challenged her officially to a debate, and she still won't debate us. Coward.
Pooped her pants again.
Yeah, she just keeps shitting herself in public instead of
it's her fetish.
Instead of debating us about the many merits of like trans rights or something, because we'll fucking come out swinging for that one. But the point being, if your entire political project is the grift, then you go find like the most reactionary elements you can, and you just like cuddle up to them. And honestly, if you sort of say, if you're willing to be their sort of whipping boy and apologize for your own identity as like, yeah, I'm all right. These other stupid faggots, I'm not like them. Then like, yeah, you could make a decent living.
Yeah.
Which apparently Brad Palumbo and boyfriend do. They can afford to eat out at Mexican restaurants occasionally, as we're told in this amazing tale of their being affronted by harness-wearing weirdos.
Yeah. Well, they don't got a douche because they're not having sex. So.
God, no. You just sit together and pray on the bed. The bed's still freshly made.
That's kind of hot, though.
Yeah, that's a kink. And
there's
like, porn
for that.
If that's what you're into, good on you.
Mormons.
We're socially permissive in that regard. So it's not in the right wing.
That's cringe
as fuck. Yeah, no, it's Sam found this. So, I mean, there's a little bit of backstory here.
Do you want me to talk about it a little bit?
No, let me try and set the scene, and then you can maybe like fill in the details here.
Okay.
There's a socialist candidate for Congress.
Socialist.
Called Joshua, at Joshua for Congress on Twitter, and his campaign is extremely online. He's running for a congressional district in the state of Washington. And like, I think we've been a little, well, we've been pretty straightforward in calling him a meme candidate, I think, which is to say, like, literally his campaign is posting memes on like Twitter and TikTok and shit.
I can't post the post critiquing him about someone being like, oh, why are you being so mean to him? He makes a lot of good points, because they just like clearly can only see they don't have any acknowledgement of like what it actually means to win. They just look at aesthetics.
No, and let me sort of do the throat clearing that most people like we usually don't do. We're just say, yes, is he better than any right-wing candidate running? He's running unopposed right now. Apparently his like, vaguely center-left Democratic opponent dropped out or something. There's some like corporate money running against him. Would we prefer he win to anybody else? Yes, absolutely. So like, please take this as a gentle and loving critique of a particular style of campaign that has become very popular. And to contextualize it, Valerie Plame, who was a CIA agent from the 80s, she signed up with the CIA during the Reagan administration, and then was outed as a undercover CIA operative by the Bush administration, essentially as sort of revenge for her husband, who worked for, I think it was the Washington Post, or I can't remember. I think it was Washington Post. Him being anti-war, basically, and publishing a case against the Iraq War. The Bush administration outed her as a CIA agent. She is now running one of these, like, I'm the populist candidate, no super PAC, no corporate money. She's running with these campaigns. Yeah, she's running with these campaigns for Congress in New Mexico, I believe.
Wonderful.
There's a fuck ton of these. The problem is, like, everyone's following the AOC model.
Yeah.
And so please read our critique as, yes, if this is the best person running in the local race, yes, we support them, and just ignore us. Like, ignore us the rest of the time. But holy fuck, they released the cringiest fucking platform in the universe.
No, it's loser tactics. It's like...
Oh, totally.
It's like if a bunch of, like, Tumblr nerds became, like, politicians, and we're like, let's run a podcast, or, like, not a podcast, and that's us. A campaign that's based on, like, moral, like, puritanism versus, like, what actually will win you material benefits.
Do you remember during the Hillary campaign, there was a letter on Tumblr, an open letter called #WeAreTheLeft?
No, I was never on Tumblr.
Oh, you're lucky. You're lucky. No, well, I mean, I mostly saw the backlash to it. I'll fully admit. So the idea was, it was just this, like, most sort of woke, scoldy liberalism when it was at its height. This was probably like 2016-ish, right? Because they were Hillaryites.
Yeah.
We support the rights of incarcerated people and POCs and marginalized immigrants. And
I have seen that.
Yeah, and then the funniest thing is, like, the corrections that were issued to it immediately after, because they were like, we used, sex worker phobic language. We apologize. And it's like edit number 2.
Yeah.
We apologize for misgendering one of the, the contributors to this letter. Edit number 3. We're extremely sorry. We, refer to United States as the United States and not Turtle Island. We will strive to use decolonial language from now. So anyway, the Rose Caucus, of which Joshua Congress and a bunch of about 20 of these sort of like upstart, sort of like left-wing AOC style insurgent candidates have signed on to, is just, it's that letter.
Well, for one, so when I discovered it, I was like, someone was like, oh, what makes them so cringe and rad-libby? And I was going for the Twitter just to, like, screenshot things, and I was like, just got mad and kind of forgot to share it. But I was like, what the fuck is the Rose Caucus? Because I saw more and more of these candidates sharing it, and I started reading it. And for one, their first requirement is you must be either a socialist, a democratic socialist, or further to the left. What does that even mean?
Oh,
These people are, like, clearly moronic and have no idea.
This is what triggered me, and I was extremely triggered. I was mad online, but it's I'll quote it exactly.
Yeah.
Help us create a people's movement. This is on rosecaucus.com. While we identify as a socialist caucus, it is important to clarify that our membership is made up of democratic socialists, and even those who consider themselves, quote, italics, further left, end quote, in italics.
They're all libs.
Then bolded. Please look to the individual websites and pages to find out who each candidate identifies personally. The notion that to be further left, like you've given up the game. Hello liberals. Like you're doing a liberalism.
Trump 2020.
We've all taken the same pledge of solidarity, which means caucus members publicly identify as a democratic socialist, or further left ideology. Keep in mind, these people's further left includes a bunch of like incredibly liberal ideologies various strands of anarchism that are literally just like liberalism plus plus. Like I assume ANCAP, like being an ANCAP is further left, right?
Probably.
Members of ANCAPistan are welcome. Point 2, endorse Bernie Sanders for president.
That's good.
That is good.
Yeah, I support that.
Right. That is a good, if you're going to impose a purity test, fuck yeah, that one, like the only actual left-wing candidate running for the last 70 years, approximately. Yeah, fuck yeah. Point 3, advocate for the People's Platform and join us in the parentheses, not triple parentheses, single parentheses, ongoing democratic process of developing it further. And so we really want to talk about what the People's Platform and its ongoing parentheses platform has come up with.
Yeah, I was reading it, and for one, it's the first platform I've ever read where I've actually like laughed out loud because it was so like cringy and hilarious.
Yeah, Sam was sending me bits of it, and I was just like, the tears were streaming down my face. But yet again, let's clarify.
Most of the platform's fine.
We might support these candidates. We're just going to laugh at them first, okay?
Yeah.
And so like don't come at us for not just uncritically loving these candidates for doing a maximal liberalism.
Yeah. So I highlighted some of the points where I just thought were really like a little cringe or just like kind of questionable on like why they're focused on. The first one was end all wars, all of them, every single one.
Wait, is that number 1? I thought literally number 1 was abolish the CIA.
Oh no, I'm not going to read the whole fucking.
Oh, sorry,
platform.
no, sorry. I
highlighted the points I thought were like funny or like.
To be clear, it's a weird fucking Google Doc, and you have to like log in and shit, and I didn't. So Sam has one, but the part I saw,
the first one's abolish the CIA,
right? And like we have talked previously about why this is just a sort of insane demand.
Yeah.
Like, keep in mind, this is a 50-page platform.
Get rid of the FBI first.
And point 1, point 1 above everything else, point 4 is ban nuclear first strike. But number 1 is abolish the CIA. Number 2 is end all wars. So sorry, please continue your...
Well, their language was end all wars, all of them, every single one. Like, why do you need to rephrase it 3 different times? War. Also, like, how are you going to end all of them? What are you going to do? Like,
just end class war.
There was no description.
Just let neoliberalism win.
We're just going to withdraw all of them and just let the entire Middle East fall apart and never work with any of the government. Like, we don't know what their fucking policy is. Like, you could literally just have it, like, completely collapse because you're not going to, like, cooperate. Like, we have no idea what any of that means.
Right. It presupposes that... there will never be a threat, domestic or foreign, that would be worth actually fighting. Yeah. And like keep in mind, like the U.S. Communist Party in the 30s and 40s was one of the most pro-war forces in the U.S., which was otherwise sort of ambivalent.
Really?
Yeah, because the idea that the fight against fascism in Spain first, right, and Francoism, and then Hitler was an important fight to win.
Yeah,
and obviously, if you can drag the capitalist state into fighting these wars, it was important.
Yeah,
and so like, I'm happy to be reflexively anti-war, but not all, like end all wars, all of them. Cool. That's a really fucking hard problem, and like I love the vision.
Yeah.
The problem is to simply demand it is to make the maximally liberal demand of like the sort of the center left position is like most wars are bad, and so the maximally liberal position is all wars are bad.
Yeah.
And it's like okay, we literally don't know how to end some of them. When Noam Chomsky is saying leave troops.
There's literally wars.
Like leave troops behind. Then honestly, if Noam Chomsky's way fucking smarter than I am, if he can't sort of see a path to like how do we get these fucking troops out of here, then I'm not willing to claim this is a simple issue.
Like war is not a black and white issue. Like even Chomsky's like for certain wars like Rwanda or like Yugoslavia, he's like I have no idea what we would do. Like and if like the person who's like expertise is like propaganda and like militarism.
70 years of sort of like analyzing and opposing U.S. empire.
It's like, I have no idea what to do. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you have no idea how to like solve them if any of these were to recur. Like clearly the wars that they're probably talking about are like the more like imperialistic wars from the U.S. But like even then, it's not like you can just pull everything out like overnight and it'll just be like a cakewalk. It's going to be bloody and it's going to have consequences either way.
Well, to be clear, and like I would praise somebody like AOC here for having a much more nuanced position on this. And I don't have a lot of love for AOC, honestly. Like she's a good maximal liberal who has, I think, had the good political sense to jump on a certain bandwagons and has developed a good broad-based support, and like good on her, genuinely. Like I wish her well.
Yeah.
But she at least has had the good sense to say, my strategy for being anti-war is to like sign onto this legislation or this policy, right? Which is like, specifically the Yemen war, specifically about our funding of Israel. So the People's Platform, though, is a sort of inchoate demand to end all wars with nothing else. And the problem is like, I promise you nothing will happen.
Yeah. The next one I marked down, have military members shift their focus to climate change. People have no background in how to deal with like what does this mean? Like, are you going to deal with climate refugees?
That's just like giving let's up. Shoot them.
Or is it like to adapt to a society that's focused on like a more ecological system? But like these people have no background, like most of them aren't even like college educated. So what is this even, why it's a weird focus that's kind of like sounds nice on paper, but like when you think about like what are people going to do, we have no idea. Like there's probably going to do nothing.
Well, this is the Liz Warren point about like fueling the drones you use to fight the wars in Yemen with bioethanol or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like carbon neutral
green
drones. Green military. Yeah, and actually to the point, back to a couple episodes, right, to our episode with Amy about the idea that like climate change, we don't have the institutions to combat climate change.
Yeah,
and therefore it can be used as essentially a sort of disciplining force against the working class. So to the extent that people end up in the military because they usually have no other fucking options. It's the only option for many people in the United States to just like have any kind of better life or any life at all. And then like we turn their focus to basically disciplining the rest of the working class.
Yeah, that worked for
not turning their power. Yeah, not turning their power over to those who claim to have solutions to climate change, which they definitely don't, because it's all unformed. It's not ready.
Yeah. So the next one is they held a whole entire LGBT platform. They title it the Gay Agenda, which it's for one, that's a right-wing talking point.
I think they're being ironic, but honestly, leave the irony to us. We're the irony bros around here.
The libs love to utilize it now as like an own to like the fundamentalists. They also want to they only mention declaring national emergencies for two things in the whole thing. And it's the trans murder and suicide, and it's like the indigenous murders, which like those are clearly issues. They're very small populations being affected, but they never mention like a national emergency for like the massive healthcare crisis or the massive housing crisis. Instead, these are like hyper woke marginalization talking points that make them seem like they're hyper woke, but like probably won't do very much in the grand scheme. There's nothing even mentioned what these things will actually do to alleviate these issues.
I mean, the meta point about all of this, and I want to stress, I genuinely believe these people are well intentioned. I don't think they have any ill intent. I don't even think they're trying to co-opt left wing sort of talking points. I think they've got together and by committee designed one of the most unwieldy sets of kind of wish lists ever designed. But the problem is that there are going to be contradictions. For example, one of the political projects is sort of maximally liberal, like left liberals who have engaged in sort of maximal liberalism, in which I would include sort of like the AOC school of like liberals and like most of the DSA and like you're kind of like Jacobin writers, kind of like that school of thought, right? Which is kind of like a dominant school of thought in what is ostensibly the left, are super into things like abolishing the police and abolishing prisons. Yet this platform, right, is full of ideas like penalize revenge porn, create stringent federal penalties for revenge pornography, blackmail, or distribution. It's like, cool. You've created like a criminal statute, presumably. Like, well, what is and like that's fine. Like I think this shit is really bad too. But like you have to understand that when you release a 50-page platform of bullet points, like there's going to be a fuck ton of like contradictions in this shit, and like the entire mechanism that we collectively have to resolve kind of contradictions between certain like liberties and a kind of legal framework is liberalism. That's what we all were born into. It's what we will die in. And so they're basically leaning on an incredibly sort of liberal notion of like justice and fairness and all these kind of ideas that you assume we agree on, which we do not. We don't Twink Revolution, the two of us, like we do not consent.
There's so many things in this like platform that's like none of this will have any material improvements for working class people because people don't have a material framework. It's things like ban private ammo sales, acquire all private golf courses and get rid of them.
They have a fucking hard-on for golf courses.
And homework.
Wait, and homework? I'm pro homework. Like, is that like... hello, I'm of the left, right? And like, I'm not even getting into a pissing contest about who's more left wing. It's just like, I regard universal education as a public good. Yeah. And if there were the sort of evidence that homework reinforced, learning or sort of educational goals of like educating, good citizens and people who will be able to participate fully in our society. If homework were in fact a part of that, then I'm fucking pro homework, right? Why isn't homework a
so the reason they say is like a bunch of countries have abolished it, and that's not true. It's one country specifically, which is Finland, and we don't even know if that's the deliberate reason why their education system improves so much. In fact, it's probably just a much broader equal distribution of education for every school. Like we have no particular reason to believe getting rid of homework was the reason Finnish education skyrocketed in the rankings.
No. I mean, Finland. I mean, like great example to learn from, but you would have to look at
now.
Sure, but like let's look at what they did, and you would say teachers incredibly well paid in a society with a very with a relatively flat society in terms of like income inequality.
Totally.
Is relatively flat there. Very well funded schools. Very involved parents in terms of like parental leave policies that allow parents to be very involved. Shorter working week, yada yada. All right, there's like 1,000 factors here that are incredibly important. And like we can actually just like as people who believe that like we can understand the material world, that we can parse the material world and understand facts about it by observing it. Yeah, as in materialists, right? These are open questions, and so like you really say 50 fucking page, how many fucking policies are 3,000 fucking policies in here, or whatever.
And you must agree with all of them except for like the gun want policies, which are still to be talked about.
Hot.
But literally you must agree with every single viewpoint to be part of this caucus.
Right.
And it's like, that's not what socialism advocates. It's like, do you believe in worker power over the means of production? That's it. Like the rest of these things are often just liberal projects to divert like, oh, what's morally righteous, or like what's gonna like look best, or like what's aesthetically nice. And it's like most of these don't even actually, a lot of these won't improve material conditions for anyone.
And the thing is, I am happy to have a political argument with other socialists about some of these issues, right? Like, what is the right way to run education?
Yeah, totally.
To the extent that if we agree on the premise that like we run education as a public good that is universal, we fund it through essentially like the collectivization of some of our excess labor. Great, like cool. Then we're down to like honestly just a very, very small argument over like we're haggling over price, right? We're saying, okay, so like, do we assign like do we set a blanket policy about homework because we think there's some social harm from it? This is not what this is. This is presupposing all of those questions, which is say, let's get into the thick of the liberal argument, like liberal on liberal argument, which is say Republicans in the U.S. are liberals, and then Democrats in the U.S. are liberals. Right? There's two flavors of liberals arguing over very, very small issues of aesthetics, and this supposedly sort of socialist document for people who are to the left of socialists. Yeah, fuck you all, you fucking liberals. Like to get into the weeds of like haggling over price with fucking liberals.
It's jumping the gun as well. It's like so many things are either like extremely marginal in their impact, where like you could still believe these things, but like why is this a key focus? But also many of these topics are so far from any like material reality. It's like we don't have universal health care. We don't have universal free education. We don't have universal childcare. So why are you talking about things that are like even more alienating people who like have no faith in the system at all and are like, oh, we don't even have free health care. Why are you going to, nationalize pharmaceuticals when it's even farther away? And this makes it seem like you're more like unrealistic with what's feasibly able to be accomplished. It's like, it's just moral purism and it's liberalism and it's infuriating. And that's why I tweet about it all the time. So don't blame me.
Well, and like to be clear, pursue your maximally liberal program. We'll be there, sort of cheering you on. Honestly, like this is fine. Like I genuinely believe that like access to abortion is a wonderful issue, even though like we don't need to have a full economic revolution, a full we don't need gay space luxury communism before we can talk about access to abortion is a really important issue. However, stop fucking memeing on TikTok. Like, stop posting cringe on Twitter and TikTok. Like, stop
like, smoking pot to own like Joe Biden. Like, that's not radical.
Yeah,
like,
no, please just like calm the fuck down on the meme candidate shit, and like honestly treat this as a matter of life and death. It is. Like if you are contending for the power, which is the power to distribute resources, then you are literally holding the power of like people's ability to eat, to live, to access medicine, to sleep indoors. Like, just don't be a fucking weirdo meme candidate. Like, fuck you.
I want people to win who believe in these things, and these people all seem to do believe in economic things. But I want you to focus on those, because those are the things that are going to have the greatest impact. Stop buying into like this culture war, liberalism, and like extremely niche purism, and focus on the things that are important, and you'll actually probably win. But I have very little faith right now that many of you can actually win your campaigns, and it's really sad.
Right. I mean, picking up the mantle of socialism, using socialism as part of your personal branding, to run a liberal, like inherently liberal campaign on liberal policies, you are risking the repudiation of socialism.
Yes.
Like literally people say, no, we tried that. We tried running socialist candidates and they lost. So, I guess we better run some like, centrist shitheads.
It's Amy Klobuchar's.
Right, exactly. So like, do not pave the fucking ground for Amy Klobuchar to be all we have as a political option, please.
But in happier news,
well, wait. I mean, I actually be serious for one moment.
Okay.
We get accused of being sort of part of like some dirtbag shit or whatever. We are going to discuss sexual assault now, and if you don't want to hear this, just turn it off. Where there's going to be nothing else. So like, turn it off now. All right, we did it.
Yeah. So this British Indonesian exchange student named, I'm going to totally butcher this, Reinhard Sinaga, basically is like probably the world record breaker for like the number of rapes committed by like any person that we know of in the modern times. And this person is a gay male, and they raped possibly up to 200 different, primarily straight males, targeting them after like drunk nights at the pubs. And
yeah, he was so his MO was he was living in Manchester, in sort of the downtown, like I guess entertainment district of Manchester, and would find very drunk people not quite capable of like taking care of themselves, invite them back to his flat to say, oh, you can, your phone, you've lost your friends, come charge your phone, I can help you find them, or these sorts of like kind of trust building, like I'm just a nice guy. He's not a large man. He's quite a sort of small, not particularly physically threatening guy. And yeah, he would then drug them with
GHB.
Yeah, allegedly, probably GHB mostly, and then rape them and film most of these offenses as well.
And the sad thing was, it took one person to actually reveal all these other cases, because all the other men had no idea this happened, because GHB mixed with alcohol basically makes you just like black out and you have no recollection of what's going on. And one person woke up and was able to escape and go to the police, but the police had to go to all these men's houses based off a bunch of video collections, one of which was 8 hours long, and tell all these men what happened to them. And it just kind of
it's utterly horrifying.
Like the reason we wanted to talk about it is just because this whole case is just like utterly crazy, and like so like miraculous it went on this lawn, and it's having lawn trending impacts, not just in Britain, where it probably will actually feel xenophobic tensions in a country that's already highly alienating towards.
Sinaga is a student originally from Indonesia.
Yeah.
Right. He's a long-term student of means.
Yeah.
He's a very wealthy family, had lived in Britain as a sort of permanent student for like 10 years.
And allegedly, according to gay news publications, it was actually one of the reasons countries like his home country, Indonesia, actually shut down a bunch of gay establishments and started persecuting gay people even more beyond just the extremely like Salafist regions, which shows like this is extremely problematic, and the gay media has either like not talked about it or just like kind of like done titles that kind of allege that it was a much smaller amount, where it's like, oh, it's only 48 people, but it's like it prosecuted 48 people. The police estimate there was 195 people. It's like, why are you hiding these cases? Because you're actually hurting the gay community far more.
There's a quote in here. When Greater Manchester Police examined Sinaga's digital devices, they discovered 3.29 terabytes of extremely graphic material, equivalent to 250 DVDs or 300,000 photos depicting sexual assaults. Yeah, lasting in one case for 8 hours. Whenever groggy victims regained consciousness, Sinaga could be seen pushing them back to the floor to continue the assault, or snatching away his phone to avoid suspicion. Few had any idea they'd been raped until police knocked on their doors several years later. This is just horrifying. And like, I think there's a tenor to this, which is to say, like, the gay communities in which we all exist, and like this can be true to varying degrees, have sexual predators in them. And
they don't do anything.
I think
there's a bar in like Castro, which had a sexual assault case, and they kicked the person who was sexually assaulted out, and this bar is still running. I'm not going to say because I don't want to get like into libel stuff.
Yeah.
But this place is still running.
Somebody was sort of being repeatedly and aggressively groped by somebody who they were telling to fuck off. And the management of this bar decided that the regular who was doing the groping was welcome to stay, and the victim who said to the bar staff, "Hey, this guy will not leave me alone," was not welcome.
And it's, if you look at the case, this guy Sanaga claimed his victims were enjoying acting out his sexual fantasy of playing dead during intercourse, which the defense didn't accept, obviously. But it kind of like, to people, like, oh, that's just an extremely marginal case. But when you're actually in a lot of these spaces, men just have an insinuation that everyone is openly consenting. Mm-hmm. And people are on drugs on their own will, but like, will take advantage of that. This person, clearly, it's a rare case, but it kind of stems from a much larger problem, and a lot of it is this kind of like predatory nature that's not being addressed, and people aren't willing to actually talk about.
Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, part of the issue of like sort of the right wing canard of like, gays are predators and they're coming for your children or whatever, was to turn around and say, no, this isn't true. And like, honestly, it's not true. And so there's statistical terms, right, that we're not talking about this as being like a gay problem. It's merely that some of the sensitivities people developed as a reaction to this was like being willing to say, you know, oh, this person's literally been convicted of sexual assault or is accused of sexual assault, and sort of turning around and being like, well, we're not really sure. Like, no, we don't want to like be unpleasant about this. And so this dude, like, he bragged to his friends. I think this is the really fucked up thing, right? Is this dude was bragging about this for a long time, and nobody thought to be like, what now? Like, it was literally that some victim was sort of insufficiently drugged or had like, I guess, you know, GHB is very dose dependent, and so maybe it wasn't, you know, didn't absorb a high enough dose to totally knock him out, and end up escaping and having some memories to go and make a police report. Yeah. But his, like, there were plenty of friends who literally had heard him bragging about like all these boys who like he were in his bed every night and being like, oh, haha, they G'd out. Like,
I think it's one of the saddest points idiots. Is because clearly I assume a lot of his friends were gay. Which, I mean, this happens in the straight world too. I don't think it's like a
totally. But we're talking about because we are gays. We're talking about this is our shit.
Yeah. We're not just targeting the gay community because we're mean. We're just like doing it because that's what we're most of our friends and community is gay people in the Bay Area. But it really shows that people have this kind of idea of like, they'll brush it off, or just they don't want to address it because it makes them uncomfortable or it ruins the fun, which the gay community kind of pushes us like, we're just always fun and we're having parties all the time, while they're all like tragic and sad and like dying on the inside. Not everyone, but like, it's kind of what I take off from a lot of the gay culture.
Well, I mean, and you sort of see instances of this, right, where like like, you know, all the celebrities who are making jokes about like, don't sit on Harvey Weinstein's couch for years, right? Like, or like Bill Cosby jokes on Family Guy 10 years before he's committed. Like, this is the, like, you know,
people knew.
Yeah, and like I you know, I'll sort of obliquely reference something without violating any sort of anonymity, right? It was like, you know, I happen to know of somebody who's been predatory in San Francisco and victimized, you know, friends of mine, and the problem is, right, that like people still accept this person and
they won't cut him out in
polite society, right? And like well, certainly Sam and I like will not socialize with the person.
No.
And will not be anywhere near them. But like that's considered drama. It's not like we're like, oh, drama bitches. Like, oh, why are you being so weird? It's like because this person fucking raped somebody. Like, and
and also I think this touches on another topic of because like this weekend was the Women's March, and I feel like in discourse, sexual assault is almost always viewed from a heterosexual framework of male attacking women. But this is the largest case probably on modern record, and they were all male victims. And there's a harsh, I would actually say a much harsher stigma.
It's male achievement.
The statistics show that for men, it's an even lower rate of reporting for sexual violence because there's even a harsher stigma. And often a lot of these people who seem to care about the topic don't even care to address it. And that's really sad.
Yeah, it's just, it's not something that societally we're equipped to deal with. And certainly, even thinking about like legal systems and things like that, we're not well equipped to deal with. But, but just like socially, honestly, like one of the tools we have is ostracism. It's up to victims if they want to report things and make police reports. And that's honestly, that's their whole journey. But like, honestly, social ostracism is the tool, we have in front of us, and we use it with great, with no compunction, like it's this. Yeah, this was a fucked up story. Like people knew and could have stopped this many years earlier. And I just hope all our Twink Revolution beauties will hashtag do better.
Yeah, and I don't want to end the podcast on like an extremely depressing thing. I know last week I talked about the Moms for Housing and how they had a police raid. But
militarized police. They had a fucking like armored vehicle and shit.
And they actually had a major win, I believe, a day ago, and are actually in negotiations with the company that owns the house and Oakland Land Trust, who are willing to purchase the house at market value.
Well, I think the negotiation is that it must be at or below market value.
Yes, it can't be higher.
Which is great. That's like fantastic. The Oakland Land Trust, to be clear, is basically a way of
public housing.
Yeah, doing public housing in a sort of collective ownership way, and it is a really good model.
So I wanted to end on a good note, just because I know there's a lot of negative stuff that we cover, because the world's not always the nicest place, but there is wins, there's good things happening, and I didn't want to leave it on a bad note.
No, and to be clear, we are on Twitter at TwinkRev. I mostly post, but Sam reads it too, and allow us one moment of earnestness, just because I know we're like kind of irony poisoned and always like mean. But honestly, if any of this stuff has affected you, like do feel free to DM us. We read everything, and like we're always here. We love all our listeners, and we're always excited to talk to you. So don't be afraid to reach out if any of this has affected you.
Yeah, and until next time, thank you for listening to Twink Revolution.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.